In today's episode, we're going to be talking about this Bitcoin breakout and how it's impacting this current cycle based on what we've seen here in the past. We're going to also be talking about the macro downtrend, which has been broken, and now we're seeing a new macro uptrend for Bitcoin, and how this is tying into the Bitcoin dominance, which also impacts the crypto money flow cycle. Lots to talk about, so let's dive right into this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy this content, and let's dive right into it. We'll also be looking at a few altcoins as well, which you might be interested in. So in this chart, we can see that Bitcoin is breaking out, and this orange period is generally the pre-halving period. So we're currently 175 days away from the halving. In the previous cycle, at this same point in the cycle, we were just finishing up a retrace before consolidation and then rallying towards the upside, but later down the line we saw a deeper retrace. So right now, of course, we're seeing the opposite. So this current breakout is a bit of an inverse situation to what we've seen at this same point in the cycle in 2019. So we're breaking out right now, but who's to say over the next 175 days we're not going to see a deeper retrace down the line? Could it go to 20k? That would be probably the worst case scenario. But history does suggest that we could see a deeper retrace simply because we have seen many breakouts in the past. We've seen many deeper retracements over the past few years at these moments in the cycle. So during this pre-halving period, this is the next 6 months that we're talking about going into April 2024. That's the halving. So any retracement going into that period, that's an opportunity, an outsized ROI opportunity to really take advantage of. Because after the halving, we're going to see a post-halving resistance reaccumulation period before breaking out into parabolic price action in the post-halving uptrend and parabola. So really important to take note of that, because a deeper retrace should be occurring over the next few months. And just 2 months before the halving, we'll see a pre-halving rally take place. So if we do see a deeper retracement, in the 2 months prior to the halving, we'll probably see stronger and more volatile price action towards the upside. We've seen that in the past many times in this light blue area, not to mention a pre-halving retrace that also tends to happen anything between 20% to 38%. That's also something that probably lies ahead, and we should probably really take that into account. But of course, we are in the new macro uptrend. We have been for a long time. The only question was, could we see a deeper retrace below 25k? That was always the question. Could we get that? There was scope for that. But of course, we've broken out anyway to new yearly highs. And historically, when we've done that, we've seen generally in the midterm, we've seen lots of volatility in 2019 and 2020 in particular, but generally speaking, anything going into the halving, any dips whatsoever, pre-halving retraces, those are opportunities, because in the midterm things can be shaky, but in the long term things are really just positive going into new all-time highs, especially after the halving. So we are in a new macro uptrend. We have been for a while. The macro downtrend is over. The new macro uptrend is intact and underway. The question is, what sort of volatility, downside or upside, can we still see going into the halving? There is scope for downside volatility, and that needs to be taken advantage of if and when it does happen. And chances are we will see downside volatility simply because markets don't just move up in a single line. We need to have those shakeouts. We need to have those corrections in psychology as in price. So no need to worry if you missed out on this rally. We'll probably see a deeper retracement down the line. Nonetheless, we have to talk about Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance has broken out, and we're probably going to see a repeat of what we've seen in the past in 2018 with a revisit to 58%, because that's what we've seen back here in the previous cycle, where we broke beyond the red resistance area right over here, turned it into a new support, and then rallied into the 58% resistance area before consolidating for multiple months. We're currently really just repeating that. The retest did take a little bit of time. It took many more months, but this retest has been successful. Now we're seeing a breakout. So over time, 58% dominance would probably be on the cards. But of course, any downside in this Bitcoin dominance, for instance, these red candles, any red candles over the coming months in Bitcoin dominance is going to open up the money flow cycle to really see money trickle down into altcoins. So at the moment, we're definitely seeing Bitcoin dominance trend up. So we're definitely seeing this part of the money flow cycle really take place. People buying into Bitcoin, people joining this Bitcoin uptrend, people FOMOing into it, seeing a bit more greed and euphoria go into Bitcoin. But of course, with time, we're going to see people lock in those profits and circulate those profits into large caps like Ethereum and other altcoins, and down the risk curve we're going to go with time, where people are locking in those profits, circulating them into more and more riskier projects which have higher and higher prospects for reward, but by the same token, higher risk for downside as well. So we're going to be seeing people circulate those profits into riskier and riskier assets that have higher and higher prospect for reward. And as we get to those lower caps, we'll probably see a correction once again as people sell into Bitcoin if they're trading altcoin BTC pairs. But we're not at that point in the cycle where we will be trading those alt BTC pairs. In any case, it feels like low caps would be circulating into fiat, into tether instead. That's how early we are in the money flow cycle and also in the early bull cycle. But just talking about a few altcoins before we really wrap up here, Bitcoin Cash has rebounded from this historical support area, and in the past we've really seen downside wicking below this support area, but generally fantastic movement towards the upside. This red area continues to hold as a support, and we're just enjoying the very first rally from here. So we could still see a bit more upside. We've seen 25% upside. It was covered in the altcoin watch list in the newsletter last week. Feel free to check that one out if you haven't. Altcoins like Bitcoin Cash, after successfully testing this area as a support, could still see further upside. There is scope for a 30% plus move still from current price levels, 30% in total, not an additional 30% from here. Over time, however, this downtrend should be revisited, but that could still take multiple months. Nonetheless, Dogecoin, for instance, still in this macro channel, downtrending. And generally, if you enjoy this sort of analysis on altcoins, you can check that out in the Rekt Capital newsletter, in the altcoin watch list and altcoin newsletter that go out every Wednesday and Friday. We're seeing consolidation inside this channel for multiple months now. This formed a base at the bottom of this channel. Now we're going to revisit the channel top here, right over here. Upside wicking has happened in the past, which is why we need a weekly close beyond here to confirm a breakout. Weekly close should be enough to break out from this macro channel overall. Over the past few weeks, we've seen downside wicking below this general channel. So if we see upside wicking like we've seen here in the past, we won't get that breakout from this channel. But if we get a weekly close, we need to see a retest of this channel top as a support. So weekly close followed by a weekly retest right over here. If that reclaim and retest is successful, we're going to break out from this channel. That's something really to take into account. Solana, we're breaking out into a major area of resistance. If we reject from here, we're probably going to drop into $23, $24 for a retest attempt of what is an old reaccumulation range. So the top of that reaccumulation range should be acting as a support in the future. Should we get there? Should we indeed reject from here to a lower price point? But generally speaking, we're seeing money flow into altcoins. We're seeing money flow generally into the entire market. Bitcoin really benefiting from that, and even altcoins as well. But generally, once we see an accumulation period, or at least sideways price action for Bitcoin going forward, we're going to see much more money flow into these altcoins going forward. Lots to look forward to, but at the same time, don't forget we are early on in the cycle and deeper retracements are the norm, and it's also something to really take advantage of once they happen. So at the same time, don't be hesitant to lock in altcoin profits, because a rejection and a retrace can always just occur, and it's something that we need to be prepared for. at the same time. In any case, that's about it. Subscribe to the channel for more videos, like this video if you enjoyed this one, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.